my name is Jobby, and today we're taking a look at the Soul of Chogokin Monster Hunter G-Rank Henkei Liolaeus, aka Rathalos. Did you get all that? And for those of you who don't know, this is from a video game called Monster Hunter. And Monster Hunter is... well, it's, what the hell is this? Okay, so I've never played it, but in any case, this figure's awesome. The painting and the sculpting on this figure is just... fuck. I like it. The sculpt is amazingly clean, with lots of sharp angles and well-defined details. And there's so much spikes! Needless to say, be careful when handling this figure because it will hurt like shit! And I just love these bright blue lines. Gives him that Tron look. However, the back of the figure is kinda empty compared to the front. Except the head. This thing looks good from all angles. And this head sculpt reminds me of the Sinanju from Gundam Unicorn. It's got that overcomplicated helmet and the tiny face. Matter of fact, the whole design of the figure is very Gundam-esque. Makes sense because the guy who designed this figure, Hajime Katoki, designed the robots of Gundam Unicorn and has his own line of Gundam model kits, the Verka series. His designs usually have long, sexy legs and a tiny face. But only losers with too much time on their hands care about building Gundam. As for his accessories, he comes with an open hand and two grabby hands which allows him to hold this awesome sword at an angle or straight up and down. And as for his other hand, it can't hold the sword. But you do get this crazy mess of joints that pegs into his throat and allows him to hold this gigantic shield. Great paint job and line work on the shield, though there seems to be a bit of pubic hair stuck in the paint job. I'll pretend I never saw that. And you gotta get this angled properly so the shield doesn't scrape any paint from the dragon's face. And if there's one major issue I have with the figure, is that the paint chips off too easily. Just don't handle it like a caveman, I guess. And it sucks that the figure doesn't come with some sort of breath part. I could imagine a giant clear fireball piece that pegs into here, something like the fireball that comes with the Revoltech Rathalos. Oh well. And if you so choose, you can combine the sword and shield to form a super sword. I don't know if it's actually called that. So you separate these parts, attach them to the top, then plug the sword into the bottom, and you get a weapon that is clearly compensating for something. As expected, he could barely hold this monstrosity of a weapon. That's where the stand comes in. Beautiful looking piece of plastic with the figure's incredibly long name printed on it. And apparently it's Monster Hunter's 10th anniversary. And you get these two stand pieces, one that you can connect to the back of the figure, and a claw that can hold up the sword, or even support the figure for some aerial poses. And careful when posing this figure, cause you might chip the paint or possibly hurt yourself. The head is on a ball joint that acts more like a swivel. Got the chicken head joint. This whole section has a tendency to unplug due to the transformation, but we'll get to that later. When posing his arms, I recommend you move the shoulder pads out of the way first. Ball joint here, rotate here, move in and out, swivel here, and a ball joint at this bicep guard, a tight double jointed elbow, wrist can move up and down, and there's a limited ball joint. The weight of the sword makes the wrist sag a little, and that could get annoying. And for the dragon arm, he's got no actual wrist, but he's got a swivel here, and the mouth can open. Waist swivel can move backwards, but not forwards. Hip guards can move up and down, can move in and out, and a ball joint at the front skirt armor pieces. And about this crotch piece, when I was first handling the figure, it broke off. But superglue took care of that. Let me take a look at that booty. Ball joint at the hip, double jointed knee, ball joint at these things, and a ball joint at the ankle. You also get a pivot and a little bit of a toe bend. If you want any sort of aerial pose, you do need both of these stand arms because this guy is heavy. And that's because his chest, his elbow joints, his feet, and some internal parts are made from die-cast metal, which gives him a good weight that makes him feel bigger than he actually is. Yeah, this figure's not that tall. About the same size as an average Master Grade Gundam kit. And here he is next to a Dinobot, SH Monster Arts Godzilla, and the Revoltech Rathalos. In my review for this figure, I pointed out that it came with a tiny unpainted hunter, which looks almost exactly like this bigger figure. That's just awesome! This figure's a great mechanical translation of the Rathalos armor. So overall, this figure is amazing with a fantastic sculpt, an amazing paint job, and wait a minute! I'm not done yet. This dragon head here isn't just for show. He can transform. Now before I get into it, the transformation is long and complicated, so skip to this timecode if you just want to see the dragon mode right away. I know I'd want to. First, set his weapons aside, and make sure that the fist is plugged in, instead of the open hand. Then you want to move these shoulder pads out of the way. Move this whole head section back all the way to his butt. Open up the chest, and flip up this tab. Extend this metal rod and close these parts together until the balls are touching. Using the swivel, twist the dragon arm around. And twist the whole metal rod section so that the dragon arm is on top. Fold up the normal arm, and this is why the hand needed to be the fist. The open hand wouldn't fit. Now close the chest parts onto the arm. Nothing snaps into place, so make sure the chest parts have a tight grip on the arm. Get the neck into position, and turn this arm guard around. And now the legs. Extend the legs down, make them do the splits, and bend the legs at this point. Then bend them forward. Bend the torso back, and turn these skirt guards around. Make sure that these blue parts aren't rubbing against any piece of armor. As you can see, my figure's paint has already begun to rub off. The instructions tell you to do this, but you should do this. It avoids the paint rub. Don't believe everything you read. Flip the booty panel down, and then bend his knees here and here so that they turn into chicken legs. Flip down the knee guard, extend the ankles, split the toes, and flip the back toe down. Do the same for the other leg, obviously. Then fold down the butt flaps, the shoulder pads, and the head. And now you got a thing that looks like a robo-dodo. Almost done. Get the sword and flip up these panels. Grab the shield and remove these parts. Attach this part to the top of the sword. Shove it up the dragon's butt and you get a tail. As for the shield parts, you spread them out, turn this claw around, and plug them into these holes. And now you got a badass robot chicken that would make Seth Green cry. In other words, you're done. I do wish that the Rathalos mode had some elbows, like the Revoltech figure, cause he really does look like a chicken. A cool chicken, but a cock nonetheless. This mode is surprisingly solid, despite nothing snapping into place, and it maintains the posability from its robot mode. Plus you get some tail articulation, and the ankles are even more flexible. This has got to be the most posable beast mode I've seen on a transforming figure. Most beast modes are stiff as a cock, and you barely get any robot kibble. The head is pretty well hidden. However, the shoulder pads hanging under the wings is kind of awkward. And to get him up in the air, you got this little piece which you snap onto the butt, plug into the stand connector, and get the claw to support his neck. And now you pray that nothing breaks. 2 pieces of plastic holding up a big chunk of metal? For the sake of my wallet, I hope this ends well. This figure ain't cheap. And just for fun, here he is next to the Revoltech Rathalos. Many of the details on this figure match up with the original design. Katoki really did his research. Again, I just wish he had some elbows. So overall, this figure is amazing with a fantastic paint job, amazing sculpt, a complicated but enjoyable transformation, and a very cool dragon mode. Of course he gets the kiss. Definitely pick this one up if you're a Monster Hunter fan. Or if you just like transforming dragon robots like me. But that paint chipping. Why is it the more expensive a figure gets, the less playable it becomes? I just wanted a badass toy that I could occasionally mess around with without the fear of damaging the figure. Not this glorified posable statue. What's the point of a toy if you can't even play with it? Didn't we learn anything from Toy Story? So if you like this video, give me a like and a comment. And don't forget to subscribe for more toy reviews. Also check out my other stuff while you're at it. And follow me on Facebook and Google Plus for updates on the figures I'll review. I'll see you next time. You know, from now on, I should just stick to cheaper figures. It'll be better for my wallet in the long run. Ah, shit, not another Figma figure!